Good afternoon. This is Rich Nass, Executive Vice President with Open Systems Media, and I'm here for this week's installment of 5 Minutes With. This week, I'm speaking to Gary Baum, and he is the Vice President of Marketing at MyScript. Good afternoon, Gary.
Good afternoon, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. And yourself?
Just fine.
Good. Okay. So MyScript is into handwriting recognition, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to ask you, I had somebody on not too long ago. We were talking about speech recognition and all the advances that have been made in speech recognition. So why do I need handwriting recognition when I can just talk to my device?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, in the past, many years ago, the machines dictated how we interface with them, namely the keyboard, later the keyboard and the mouse. And that was the sole interface. If you go back further than that, we interfaced with them by punching holes in paper cards. Today, that's no longer the case. Today, the humans are dictating how we interface with the machine. So the multimodal input is what makes the most sense. Every human wants to choose the mechanism to interface with the device at the time and the venue that they're at. So multimodal dictates, yes, you must have speech. Yes, you must have handwriting recognition. Perhaps you even want some gestures, or maybe you want some way to have heads-up recognition or display. There's a variety of things. In automotives, for example, you want to write on a touchpad, and you have to superimpose the characters because there's not enough room to write an entire long sentence. So depending on the venue, there's a need for handwriting, there's a need for speech, and the more ways to interface with the device, the better off the human is.
Okay, all right, I'll buy that. Now, you said something that gave me chills, punch cards. It takes me way back to when I was learning how to program. I think it was in Fortran. We were using punch cards. We won't even go there. But I'm looking at your bio, and I see that you go back into the PC industry, way back in the day like I do. And reminds me of the infamous quote from Bill Gates that said, "No one will ever need more than 640 kbytes of memory." What do you see of that industry, say 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now? Will a PC even exist, or will it be some other device? I mean, I think we've been having this conversation for 20 years, but what do you see 10 years from now?
Yeah, we have been having this conversation for at least 20 years, if not longer. And I think, recalling some of the context of the famous quote, it was due to the fact that the original PCs only had 1 megabyte of addressable memory space, much of which was used by the BIOS, so there was only 640K left, and that was at that time judged to be enough for all mankind for many years to come. Of course, that wasn't the case. So today what we're seeing is mobile devices that are far more powerful than mainframes back in those days. And what's really important is this multimodal input. So not only handwriting recognition, but high-accuracy handwriting recognition, language services. You're seeing all of these types of human input mechanisms starting to move over to neural networks or artificial intelligence to improve the accuracy and the capability and the feature sets that they provide. In the case of handwriting recognition, just the mere fact that you recognize it is great as an input mechanism, say for cars or for remote controls or things like that. But when you get to a machine, a PC, you really want much more. You want not only the ability to recognize the handwriting, but you want the ability to do all the edits. Everything that you could possibly do with a keyboard, you want to be able to do that with a stylus and in ink mode or in character mode, both modes, with a stylus, and be able to merge that output into your workflow, your documents, your emails, your content creation, not just the content consumption that we're so enamored with on tablets today. So that whole functionality of elevating ink to the capabilities of a keyboard, we call interactive ink. And it's the next generation of ink storage after bitmaps and then ink stroke-based technology, where we now have ink objects where we apply the actual knowledge of what the a group of ink strokes or a partial ink stroke really means, and we can manipulate it as individual elements. This allows us to build very capable note-taking applications, just a wide variety and vast amounts of applications, and control and manipulate and add content solely with the stylus. That's the part that's been missing, up to this point. And we will be introducing some SDKs and ATKs into the industry here in a few weeks to come that will enable ISVs around the world to start those types of developments.
Now, how did I know you were going to spin that back to handwriting recognition?
Of course.
Very good. I'm afraid we have used up our 5 minutes, but I certainly thank you. That was Gary Baum. He is the Vice President of Marketing at MyScript, and I am Rich Nass, Executive Vice President with Open Systems Media. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.